Hey people, it is Monday, March the 4th. The time is 3:42 in the afternoon, and it is currently a very mild 14 degrees Celsius outside. And I just got off the subway here at Dundas West subway station. I'm going to make my way up to street level, and then I'll make my way eventually onto Roncesvalles Avenue. There's a eastbound train on line 2. So as I was saying, I'm going to head south here along Dundas Street, and eventually it will merge with Roncesvalles, and I'll continue south on Roncesvalles. Yeah, it's been a while since I've walked through Roncesvalles village.
Subway service on a portion of line 1 between Osgood and College stations will end at 11 p.m. for track work. Shuttle buses will run. Visit ttc.ca for more information.
And here's a look at the streetcar and bus boarding area. This is all part of the paid fare zone. So once you get off the subway, you just step out here and you can just step onto a streetcar or a bus. See a 504 King there just pulling out. 505 Dundas. And several bus routes. Once you pass through the fare gates here, you're no longer in the paid fare zone. And we emerge. And as you can see, it is very beautiful weather for early March. Just crossing Bloor Street. So look east, you can see all the way to Yonge and Bloor. And to the west, you'll find the High Park area, and beyond that, Bloor West Village, and beyond that, the Kingsway, and then you'll make your way into Etobicoke. And no jacket required right now. I'm just wearing a hoodie and it's not even zipped up. Just a t-shirt underneath. No gloves, and best of all, no runny nose. So this is still Dundas Street we're walking on, currently heading south. But Dundas will take a turn to the east up ahead. And that's where Roncesvalles Avenue will begin.
Да, так.
And it's quite busy. Rush hour is underway. When I rode the subway from downtown, it was packed on both lines, standing room only. Mostly packed with teenagers, because I think I happened to come upon the time of day when school is letting out. As you can imagine, the subway was very noisy with chattering teens on their way home from school. Smoke in the water. So there's where Dundas Street veers off to the east. And Roncesvalles begins right here. Going to cross the street here. We'll head south along the east side of Roncesvalles. My original plan was to walk north along Roncesvalles from down on Queen, and then continue on in another video walking along King Street and Queen Street. Or I should say, I would have done the Queen and King walk first and then walked north on Roncesvalles. But I realized I would have been walking into the sun along King and Queen at this time of day, so I decided to switch it up and do it in the opposite direction. And this is one of my favorite streets to walk along in the city, although I don't often do it because it's a fair distance away from the heart of downtown where I live. And it's an interesting mix of retail storefronts with many restaurants and old early 20th century homes and some old low-rise apartment buildings. It has a very lived-in look, sort of urbane and eclectic at the same time. And it was also known as the Polish neighborhood of Toronto for many years, and it still is. I think it was a bit more Polish in character, though, in the past than it is today. Lots of families live in the area now. And you'll find as we continue on that there are quite a few fruit markets and old school convenience stores, such as right across the street, which is something I quite enjoy. And there's the Review Cinema across the street. It's an art house movie theater. It has a full schedule every month of film screenings. Art house cinema, as well as second run movies, movie classics, and that sort of thing. And some fun theme nights as well. And right beside the Review is the Local, which is a popular bar in the neighborhood. And it's nice to see the streetcars are back in service here. Seems over the last several years, more often than not, the streetcars were not running here for various reasons, due to many construction projects and street redesigns and water main replacements and that sort of thing. And that's still ongoing in some areas in the neighborhood.
Oh my goodness, you're so delicious. So many delicious stuff.
I literally was in there and I was like,
And this street is also rather unique once you go a certain distance south. All the retail is concentrated just on the east side of the street, and the other side is residential. Be interesting to see how that came to be. What was it that prevented both sides of the street from developing as a commercial strip? Further up, closer to Bloor, it is both sides, but along this stretch, it's only the east side. And there are a fair number of chain restaurants, but I'd say they're vastly outnumbered by local independent shops and restaurants. This is a chain, but it's a local chain as far as I know.
Yeah, it's later.
We have an Italian grocery here. And a good name for a bookshop. And there are these bike lanes here, which were put in about 10 years ago or so.
So it's a party. I don't know.
This is not just a local corner store. They're a bit more specialized, as you can see.
There's a pretty big Italian presence.
No one else is getting one there. And I'm just doing it when I'm doing it.
And the locals affectionately refer to this area as Roncy. It's a bit easier to pronounce than Roncesvalles for some people, I suppose. And definitely easier to spell. I still sometimes have to make sure I'm spelling Roncesvalles correctly if I put it in the title of a video. And I've said it in previous videos walking through the area, but there's a very high proportion of dog owners, it seems, in this area, and many businesses catering to them. And this is a sort of common sight here, walking through the area. Much more than seeing people pushing baby strollers, for instance. But as I mentioned earlier, there is a very large number of families that do live in this area. And the homes are quite large and gracious and certainly expensive. This far from the core, most of the houses are fully detached. Although they tend to be very tightly packed in, so not much in the way of yards or big lots or anything like that, but they are mostly fully detached and costing upwards of $1.5 to $2 million easily.
photographer.
I think this area was built up in the very early part of the 20th century. There you can see the proper spelling of Roncesvalles there on that sign. Or on these banners.
Well, my thinking was.
As you can see, even though this is the Polish neighborhood, you'll find restaurants of every variety here. Very old school here. Two banks side by side here.
And the sky was like,
I wouldn't be surprised if the temperature has gone up another degree or two. Feels like it might be 15 degrees or more by now. Got a cool toy star here for girls.
That's also the other thing is don't be shy.
I could actually remove this hoodie and I'd be perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, I might do that. Guess he was taking a break. I like this place. And no neighborhood in Toronto was without a Gabby's. That's sort of a running joke on this channel, you might have noticed. Premium olive oil and balsamic tasting bar. Looks like this fruit market has closed down.
I have a picture in bio, right? And
Oh, that's too bad. There's another one literally just a couple doors down here. I've noticed a fair number of bakeries along this stretch. And this was a Thai home, Thai Malaysian, and Indian roti place, but it seems to have been closed.
No, we don't have any right now, bud. No, no.
And I think this is an old former movie theater, which is now a convenience store. Once upon a time, I imagine movie posters would have been on each side of the entryway here. And a marquee with the movie that was playing. I wonder how far back in time I'd have to go to see that up and running. Maybe there's some old photographs online I can look up. It's a pretty substantial building. Very nice old walk-up apartment. And there's a mix of several such buildings along the street. Village Juicery. I'd say the old Polish feel of the strip is not very apparent these days. When I first explored this area in 1996, it was much more Polish in feel and many more businesses that were Polish run. That's because I had a friend who lived in this apartment building right here. And I would come to visit and hang out for a few days and got pretty familiar with this strip here. So obviously that was a long time ago. I remember I would look out the window of the apartment, and right across the street was a place called Super Kolbasa, and I think it might have been right there where Simply Social is now. Getting close to the end of the strip here. Queen Street West and King Street sort of converge at Roncesvalles, just a bit further to the south. Queen Street continues on, but King Street ends at Roncesvalles. Here's a vintage store. Some of the big old homes. These ones are a mix of semi-detached and fully detached. It's around at this point, if you start heading eastward towards downtown, the homes become denser in nature. You'll find more attached housing and row houses. And west of this point, much more fully detached in nature. There's a mural, a mural, not a meal, a mural depicting what Sunnyside Beach used to look like. That's just to the south here, Lake Ontario. It's just on the other side of the Gardiner Expressway. And Burrito Boys. And that's where Roncesvalles commercial strip comes to an end here at Queen Street. So that's looking east into Parkdale. This is the boundary between the two neighborhoods. And there you can see the lake. So after I wrap this walk up, I'm going to start another walk, walking through Parkdale, heading east away from the sun. Otherwise, I would have been walking this way had I stuck to my original plan. And as you can see, that might have posed a problem. And here's where King Street begins. So I'm going to start to wrap up this walk and get ready to begin another one. I hope you enjoyed the stroll down Roncesvalles Avenue. We started at Dundas West subway station and made our way out onto Dundas Street, heading south, eventually coming onto Roncesvalles itself and continuing all the way down here to where King and Queen sort of converge. So leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the walk, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And also make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via my PayPal or my merch store, or you can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or by sending a super thanks if you prefer. And you can find me on Instagram under KContinuum. So thanks for watching, and be sure to keep checking back because, as always, I will continue